Okay, so it seems that we have an update on this whole artist situation which has been going on over at Twitter lately, and well, this has been pretty insane because this has been blowing up in the artist community, the VTuber community, and many other communities as well, where essentially, this was the main post which came out, which we covered in a previous video if you guys want to go and watch that, but essentially, it was this person called like Richie or whatever, Richie's Final, I don't even know what they're called, but essentially, they said, "Welp gang, I wouldn't recommend trying to commission if you're a queer person, I guess." And this was the message that they received from this artist over on VGen, a VTuber kind of dominated art commission kind of website, right? And they essentially said that they wouldn't be drawing queer couples because it, was against their religious beliefs and stuff like that, which, to be honest, I think they did a good job at kind of politely kind of explaining it to them and saying, hey, I don't really do this kind of stuff, so again, I'm just gonna not do the commission, which I think is totally fine, because you can go ahead and go to someone that is more comfortable doing it and also is probably even better at doing it, right? If you go and ask them and try to force them to do it, right, they're probably even not going to do a good job, right? Because they're not exactly experienced in creating queership arts and things like that. You might as well go to someone that actually has a little bit more kind of I guess experience, right? And well, then they decided to call them out and even tag them with the quote, which I thought was a little bit weird. And obviously, this has been the kind of topic of conversation ever since, as this person has gone like on private and unprivated multiple times, right? And then obviously they put out a response saying, hi everyone, I didn't expect to be awake for this notification. And eventually they managed to get over 15,000 followers, which is absolutely insane. They've gotten a ton of support ever since, because it seems that they've had a pretty big hate raid against them ever since them just turning down something due to their religious beliefs. And as I said, if it's a religious belief or it's for any reason whatsoever, I think an artist is totally free to deny it. Even if it is something to do with like a queership kind of art thing, some people don't really want to draw that. Me as a straight person, right, again, if I was an artist, I probably wouldn't even accept it either, because I'm not exactly very well versed in that kind of stuff. I'm not going to be able to potentially give you the best image that you really want to, and also at the same time, I probably wouldn't really enjoy doing it. Artists, want to enjoy what they're doing and what they're commissioned to do, right? And well, a lot of people were kind of trying to force them and were trying to say that they were homophobic for not doing it, despite them even making a couple of statements as well, with a whole big statement, which was very mature, by the way. For a 19-year-old, they actually did a very good job at addressing everything. Obviously, they even said that they will continue to stand by the decision, and I've updated their terms of service to better reflect and stuff like that, because one thing that people were kind of mad at was like, oh, you didn't make it clear enough in the terms before they actually tried to take out the commission, which I guess was a mistake on that part, but now they've made it a little bit more clear. But again, there were still people annoyed because they wouldn't accept commissions like this, and there was many things, for example, like this, people saying this is against VGen TOS, by the way. Which was a point that a lot of people in the community were kind of bringing up, was this was against VGen TOS, which VGen have actually issued a response now to everything that has been going on. And well, it seems like a lot of these people are going to end up looking pretty stupid, because VGen actually answered a lot of people's questions about this, saying, hello, thank you for taking the time to share your concern with us. We understand how important this issue is, and we truly appreciate you bringing it to our attention. To clarify, VGen does not tolerate any kind of discrimination of any kind, and any violation of this policy results in administrative action. That said, we are a global community and our users come from many regions, each with its own laws, customs, and cultural or religious frameworks in certain areas. Creating specific types of content can unfortunately carry serious legal risks for the artist, which is true. There are some countries, believe it or not, where you can actually, face some pretty severe punishments for obviously being a homosexual, which obviously, yes, that's not right. I don't think that's right at all. But unfortunately, it is the kind of reality, and you can't force an artist to start getting involved in the stuff when they could potentially face, losing their life over it, which I think is pretty crazy. Just because you're on Twitter and you think everything's all happy and, cool because you live in America or something where it is allowed, doesn't mean that everybody is allowed to, or everybody has the same culture as you in terms of this kind of stuff, right? And they go on to say, in the case being referenced, the artist declined the request politely and respectfully explaining that doing so would go against their religious beliefs. There was no hateful or derogatory language used. If that had been, then the situation would have been viewed and handled very differently. Our team takes reports of hate speech or discrimination extremely seriously. Ultimately, we cannot compel artists to create work they're not comfortable with, whether it's for personal, religious, or legal reasons, as long as that refusal is communicated respectfully and without prejudice. They say, we hope this helps clarify our position, and we sincerely appreciate you raising your concerns with us. Please continue to report any incidents that may involve harassment, hate speech, or discrimination, as maintaining a respectful and inclusive environment is one of our core priorities. And yeah, I mean, that is a really, really good response there from VGen, because again, they totally understand what is actually going on with the situation. I'm sure they've had a ton of reports from people trying to take down their account, and it seems like they're not going to budge, which I think is the best thing. You know, they're saying, VGen's answer about recent uproar: I'll not tolerate anyone who drags any artist when they refuse any kind of commission they're not comfortable with, whether it's straight, queer, pairs, furry, or old people, not bees, and many more. Respect others if you want to be respected too, which is 100% true. You know, I made a tweet recently saying, like, for a lot of the people who are attacking this artist, right, if I asked you to make some kind of furry thing and you weren't a furry artist, would you do it? No, you would refuse it, because you know you wouldn't be comfortable making that, or you wouldn't want to make it in particular. But again, you know, that's their culture, so you know, why can't you do it? That's my culture. Like, and again, obviously it then goes into that kind of argument, right? So again, you put it into any kind of like belief, or any kind of sexuality, or any kind of group or whatever, which you know, you ask someone to do and they refuse it, you should kind of just respectfully go, okay, fine, and then just go find a different artist who might be a little bit more experienced and also, you know, will actually accept a commission like that, rather than getting angry and trying to put them on blast on Twitter and ultimately failing. You know, obviously this person had their account down for days. I feel like, you know, we know who the true winner is out of this argument. And also this person has been known to post some pretty, you know, horrible posts as well themselves. You know, for example, Akuma Miko here, obviously a popular VTuber, saying, I found this gem before they locked their account. So not only are they a bully, but they're also a misandrist. And this was a post that we went over a while ago, essentially, yeah, saying, yeah, nobody GAF. And this is over the top of a men's health month thing, which I thought was pretty insane. And yeah, essentially, they were saying that men's mental health doesn't matter, and they're part of that kind of group, because there is a large group at the moment with the whole men's mental health, like, November thing going on at the moment, you know, that are trying to actively fight it. I don't know why you'd want to do that, because again, I think all mental health kind of matters, no matter if it's a man or a woman or whoever, right? It doesn't really matter who it is, but obviously for this month, you know, men's mental health does matter, and for some reason they feel the need to kind of downplay that and say nobody cares, which I think is obviously a lot more hateful than obviously what they're trying to claim that this person was trying to say and things, which I thought was pretty interesting, and you know, has been called out by a lot of people, including Akuma Miko, which I thought was pretty interesting and funny that that's even the case. But obviously, you know, there is a pretty good ending to this, I would say, because obviously VGen have you know, responded, and it's been pretty positive in terms of the response, and Neko has gained, as I said, over 15,000 followers since this incident, so it seems like they're going to be getting a lot more commissions through. I saw a couple of posts of people saying, oh, hey, we're going to commission them. And it's great to see that VGen isn't like kind of just giving in, because a lot of companies out there will be very scared of the kind of hate mob that will be coming their way for saying, like, you know, for supporting this artist, right? But, you know, they've actually stuck by them instead, and kind of just, yeah, just taken whatever will come from that, which I think is honestly a really, really good direction that they're going to go in. You know, people said, I think I need to add this. Artists, please state it clearly on your do's and don'ts, whether it's hetero, queer, furry, children, old people, male character, or femme character. Do's and don'ts should be discussed in DMs, because it will waste customers' time if they didn't meet up to your do's and don'ts, which, yeah, 100% true. You know, you should always have a do's and don'ts, and you should always have, like, some kind of guidelines there, just so you don't waste people's time. I think that's 100% true, and obviously that was a mistake on their part, but also I think putting them on blast for this kind of stuff is pretty crazy, right? It said, also, please don't call people names when you disagree with anyone. I block any people who are rude about their opinion, no matter what their sexuality, beliefs, or gender. I'm so disappointed whenever I see queer/cis said they got called names when they only stated their opinion. So yeah, obviously people saying, VGen knows what consent is, awesome. Which obviously, yeah, it's great. And it's just great to see that, you know, they are backing up their artists, because as I said, all artists are allowed to refuse any kind of work they want for whatever reason they want, whether it's for this kind of particular case or any other case. Maybe you just didn't want to, maybe you didn't believe in exactly, you know, what they were kind of wanting you to draw or whatever. Sure, you know, you could deny that, and you have every right to, without, you don't even have to necessarily have a reason, right? You could just, you know, be having a bad day and you want to kind of lighten the workload a little bit. So again, you deny it. Again, you have any reason that you want to even do that. And yeah, it was good to see that VGen is also backing this up. Obviously, it's going to cause them a little bit of backlash going forwards, but I think after a little bit of a while, people are just going to forget and keep using the platform, because let's be real, it's not really the biggest of deals, is it? So again, I just kind of want to give you guys an update, because we obviously covered this situation before, and all of the stuff that was leading up to this. And yeah, that is essentially a kind of conclusion on what has happened and how VGen and Neko are doing now after all of this kind of stuff has happened. But yeah, there's also been many situations with other artists in very similar situations to Neko, which again, I've covered on my other channel, my gacha channel, because it was more gacha related. A gacha artist also got attacked because they drew a straight ship. That's it. That is literally it. Because they drew straight people, apparently they deserve to get cancelled on Twitter. I don't know why. But again, that was also pretty crazy. So again, if you want to watch that, that'll be over on that channel. But yeah, again, it's been pretty insane. But if you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, go to GameSubs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off. Again, they've got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.